My banksters, welcome to the bank. You are here with the teller himself, Rob the Bank. Follow me as I follow the money. Let's dive deep. Get rich. Real quick, I'm wearing some, I'm on some fly shit today. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You see it? The demonstration company, lead the way. Demonstrate. Gotta check out the gear. They sponsored this video today, so the video we watching today is Grant Cardone, one of my favorite guys. See what he's talking about, and let's go.
Well, you listed out all the reasons, why the middle class is shrinking and will continue to do so. You said household incomes of the middle class can't keep up with those of the upper income. We talked about interest rates.
Yeah.
You said the middle class has the majority of their net worth tied up in the equity of their home, but that's kind of been the case. Usually most families' biggest investment is the home they live in. That's been historically the case.
Yeah. Or cash or a retirement account or some combination.
Yeah.
All of which have scammed the American people.
There's inflation, of course, we talked about that. There's taxes.
Of which the middle class pays all the taxes in this country.
Correct. The dollar is getting devalued. We've seen that with inflation.
Well, the dollar didn't get devalued. What it buy?
So real quick, when they say that the middle class is paying all the taxes, is essentially people without business and using the tax codes to their advantage. I think that's essentially what he's saying, is that the middle class people are just working. So if you make $100,000 a year, 45% of that is getting taken out, and you really just you're netting $65,000 a year. But if you operate some type of business and can run the taxes through it, then you can keep more money and pay less taxes. It's actually kind of interesting because a lot of people were angry at Trump recently about not paying taxes or showing his tax returns and stuff like that, when in actuality, that's what they should be aspiring to be, is to not pay taxes. That's the goal, is to not pay taxes or to pay as little tax as possible. There's a difference between tax evasion and tax avoidance. Tax evasion you go to jail for. Tax avoidance you get rewarded for. So just wanted to touch on that because I think that's a really important point.
Bias.
Well, yeah, which is...
The bias is... Because the $100 bill still says 100 on it. See, this is the big scam right here. Okay? The big scam is this $100. When were you born? What year?
What was that?
What year were you born?
73.
So in 1973, this said 100 on it.
Yeah.
It says 1973 down here, right?
Yeah.
Full faith in the U.S. government and God we trust. It says the same bullshit. If this was a 1973 bill, okay, printed in the year you were born, what would it say on it today?
100. Oh, it'd be way less.
No, but what would it say on it? It would still say, right here, it would say what?
$100.
Exactly. It should say 11.
Right, because it's worth 10% of what it used to be.
That's where the scam took place, right there.
Right. Now, you said interest rates paid on checking and savings account have been the lowest level.
Because if it said 11, if they had to change the value of it every time, fuck, you wouldn't keep cash.
Well, I mean, certain countries have to do that. They have to take a zero away from their currency and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's right.
It happens. Now, you said interest rates paid on checking and savings accounts have been the lowest level for decades, with today's average still being at 0.1.
I think I missed something. Let me go back.
That's where the scam took place, right? It should say 11.
Right, because it's worth 10% of what it used to be.
That's where the scam took place, right there.
Right. Now, you said interest rates paid on checking and savings account have been the lowest level.
Because if it said 11, if they had to change the value of it every time, fuck, you wouldn't keep cash.
Well, I mean, certain countries have to do that. They have to take a zero away from their currency and stuff.
So essentially what they're saying is that the value of the dollar went down to $11. So the only interesting thing is that it fluctuates. It constantly fluctuates. Sometimes the dollar's stronger, sometimes it's weaker. So like his point of what he's saying is that if they had to change it every time the dollar is fluctuates, then it wouldn't mean anything. But on top of what he's saying, with the fluctuation of the dollar, is also say it like this: you yourself are a business. And if you had to take an account of all the things that take money out of your pocket, i.e. expenses, then you will see how much money you actually net profit. Let's say you make $100,000 a year and taxes get you take out of that $100,000 a year. From that $100,000, you get 40. Let's just say it's 40%, so you get $60,000. The increase of inflation, the increase of rent, the increase of food, the increase of cost of living, all that rises. So your 60, even though on paper you make $100,000 a year, you really only, if you had to equate it, you really only making 30, 40, maybe even less. That's essentially what he's saying.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, that's right.
It happens. Now, you said interest rates paid on checking and savings accounts have been the lowest level for decades, with today's average still being at 0.1%.
Yeah.
That is true, but now, because of the high interest rates, you have savings accounts like Apple where you could get like 4.5%.
Yeah.
I have some of my money in there myself.
Average checking account or savings account in America, paid to the average middle-class family in America, is 0.1% today.
Right, and that's true. But
So
I'm
the
saying,
fact
but you
that it's
have the
available-
option to put your money into a high interest.
The fact-
anyone could do it. Anyone can get an Apple savings account.
Okay, for what? They got fucking $12 they earn 4% on. This is ridiculous. I cannot believe you're defending this position.
What-
You
but
sound like
what
an
a-
elitist, Vlad. What happened to you, bro? I thought you were for the people. I thought you were for the people. I'm supposed to be the elitist. I'm supposed to be the guy that doesn't understand. So if a guy has, let's say his average savings account has $800 in it and he earns 4% on fucking Apple.
Listen, $800
You
is
know
not going to
that
help you in any situation. You can't make $800 turning into anything significant in any business.
Let's talk about averages. The average American in America today is paid 0.1%.
It's been a long winter. We need.
He's trying to say 0.0.
How about something like this?
Yeah, I see what he's saying.
0.1, not 1%.
0.1%.
0.1% interest rate annually.
Because they're keeping the
But
money in
if
the
they go
checking
get a
account.
mortgage, it's going to be 7, 8, or 9 if they qualify.
Correct.
Okay, they can't get a business loan today.
Right.
They can cross their fingers and hope that Biden forgives them for their college debt if they were stupid enough to go to college.
I disagree. I went to college. It's helped me out eventually.
How does it help
Immensely.
you?
Immensely.
What you've said for the last 15 minutes proves that a college
It's not
degree
true.
is not
I
helpful.
have a computer science degree from UC Berkeley.
But you're not using it.
I'm using it every day in my business.
How?
Because
Tell me how
Vlad TV is as much of a tech company as it is
Okay, you're talking your
a
book
content
now.
company.
Okay, go
the
ahead.
back end
Go
cost me $1 million to put together.
Go ahead.
What we could do with a small staff is what a big company could do.
But you could do that today with AI and not ever have to go to college.
Listen, you
You
can
agree
and
with
you
that?
can't. You can and you can't. I
Okay.
mean, it's conceptually an interesting idea, but you still need programmers and you still need.
So I know they're kind of getting off the point a little bit, but I really want to touch on this. Essentially, what Grant Cardone is arguing is that it makes no sense to have a saving account or some type of investment account and it's only $100 in it, $400 in it, $500 in it. It makes no sense. If you're getting a 1% return on $400, that's $4. Even if it's 10% and you put in $400, it's only $40 year on year. It's not a good investment. You might as well just take that $400 and invest it in yourself and go do something. I think that's essentially what he's saying. And especially reading the title of the video, I think more on what he's saying is there's no point of having a savings or 401k because even a 401k is an IRS, you can check the IRS website. It's an IRS savings plan. It's used as a vehicle used for the company to invest into the stock market. So you can essentially, if the stock market crashes, you can lose your 401k. Essentially, that's what that means. That's literally what that means. You're betting on the stock market only through your company, like they're helping invest into your 401k. That's you can go on irs.gov. Actually, I might do that. I ain't gonna do that right now, but yeah, you can do that. So it's not really a point of saving. Essentially, that's what I think that's what he's getting at.
Need technical expertise.
When's the last time you programmed anything?
Oh, I don't program anything, but I have a programmer that I work.
Oh, and more so, I think the whole point of school, I think everybody kind of feels this way about school to a certain point. But school to a certain extent is not a necessity. I think it's good for certain things, but I don't think it's a necessity, especially since most people going to school to get pretty much bullshit degrees and not using the degree that they're going to get. So I do agree with that, though.
Work with every day.
Right.
I haven't coded in decades, but what I'm saying is I know how to architect software.
Okay. Hey, I went to college, man.
Yeah.
I went to college. I got an accounting degree.
Depends on your major. Certain majors are more useful than others.
Nobody's ever asked me whether I graduated or not.
Well, when's the last time you applied for a job?
Well, more importantly, when's the last time I applied for some debt? $2 billion worth of debt. Nobody's ever asked me. No bank's ever asked me.
College degree has nothing to do with a loan.
But so what? Well, you just told me what? I don't need to get rich in America. I do not need a college degree. They're not going to even ask me.
You're going
Facebook and Google all came out and said you do not need a college degree to work here anymore.
Okay, doesn't hurt. It usually helps.
Okay.
People with a college degree make
helps people
make over $1 million more on average than someone without a college degree.
It helps put people in debt, Vlad.
Agree to disagree. Depends on the college. Nobody that goes to Harvard or Yale or Princeton complains about their college debt.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, and I want to point this out because this is such a big argument, and it's really asinine argument. Let's say this first off. let me take these off. Just like the S&P 500, you have the CU 100 or CU 500. The college university 100 are obviously the most elite of the elite colleges. They don't even follow the paradigm of most universities in America, which is funny. So to say what he's saying, and I think what Greg Cardone is saying is, in general, people who go to college in general are only going to get in debt. That's essentially what he's saying. In general, if you're going to college, you're just going to college to be in debt, unless you go into these top 100 schools. And more than likely, if you go into these top 100 schools, you either have somebody or know somebody who's already either been to this college or your family's already pretty well off. So you don't really even care about the debt you're incurring. And more importantly, it's a great place, since it's a top 100, you're already there to network. You're networking with the brightest people, so to say, in America or in these fields. You're networking with the brightest people or the wealthiest people or people who have the best connections to be around. That's essentially what college is supposed to be for, what it is for the top 100. But after that, the rest of the penny stocks and all this other shit, it doesn't equate. It's not the same. You pay $250,000 to go to Stanford or UC Berkeley. It's not the same if you pay $250,000 to go to, I don't even know, it's a shitty college, but just any college. I mean, just pick any college that's not in the top 250 colleges in this United States of America. I would say even in the top 100, and probably can go even lower than that and say top 50. But in the top 100 is really if you're not in this top 100, you can learn majority of everything in college online. Majority. Even Harvard has online classes you can take from Harvard. So for free, and it's not, you don't even get paid, like you don't even have to pay for it. You can go to Harvard classes for free. You don't even have to do a lot of these things to pay. So I agree.
Stanford, Berkeley, nobody complains about their nobody complains about their college debt.
Oh my God, man.
Okay, now if you go to if you go to Heald College,
like most people do, by the way.
Okay,
like most
now
people
if you go to one of those colleges, if you go to like a regular unknown state school, then yes.
How many people qualify to go to Harvard, Yale, MIT, or UCLA?
Hey, listen. At the end of the day,
How
it's
many?
really up to you.
But how many?
Not that many.
Exactly. So
Not
what are you
that many.
talking about?
I'm talking about people. Well, how many people who get like computer science degrees or you know, go to med school or whatever else, they don't complain about their college debt.
Okay.
You know, it's all about, I think you have to teach it more, you know, approach it more about learning a craft as opposed to just getting a degree. Having a history degree from any college is relatively useless. Having an art history degree, relatively useless unless you know you're going into the art world and that's all you want to do in life. But having a computer science degree, having a biology degree, having a mathematics degree, that will get you in the door in a lot of places. You're disagreeing with me?
100%.
Okay. Oh, you agree to disagree.
It's $1.6 trillion worth of college debt.
Yeah.
Okay. America is suffering, man. The average person is fucking buried right now. I have 15,000 families that rent from me. Like, I have numbers on enough people to know whether they're paying $1,800 a month, $2,000 a month, $1,500 a month, $2,200 a month. These are real families, man. Not some headline by Bloomberg or CNBC's feeding you some bullshit about, oh, you got to have a higher education. You know how long they've been feeding that bullshit to the black and brown community? Your only chance is a higher education. By the way, we'll give you the loan for free. You can pay us back one day when you get a job. Fucking talk about slavery, modern day slavery. $1.6 trillion worth of debt, and I wasted 4 or 5 years of my life. 46% of all people that enter college are not out at 6 years. I'm sorry, 46% are still not out after 4 years. 64% are spending as much as 6 years if they finish to get a master's.
Yeah, I took 4.5 years.
I took 5.
I was in that 64%. I definitely took 5, 6 years. So I agree with what he's saying so far. I think it's pretty solid on what he's saying. I don't see anything disingenuous about what he's saying. I think what he's saying is pretty spot on. I think most people, I will say it would probably be hard for most people to get out from the situations that they're in because they're so far into the situation that they're in. But what he's saying is, I think, is pretty genuine and quite spot on, especially with in the times that we're in now. I think what he's saying is not wrong. So
4.5 years.
Would you do it again? Today, 21st century, right now, AI is right around the corner. Would you go to college today?
100%.
You would.
100%. If I was 18 again, yeah, 100%. I mean, at 50, I wouldn't go, but yeah, at 18.
He bullshit. I would not go back to college. If right now, if somebody gave me the opportunity to go back to, they say I'm 17 or 18 again. I personally, and I was my father and I get to choose my own decisions at 17 or 18, I would not send my kids to college. Absolutely not one bit. Absolutely not one bit. I would not send my kids to college.
100%. Yeah. I mean, learning how to learn is a big deal. Being around people of you know, who are all exceptional. Learning, you know.
What's happening on the campuses this week?
Yeah, it's a mess.
You want to be around that.
Not around that. But that's not happening everywhere.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, you said 10 things you would never do again.
Okay.
College is number 1.
Yeah, I did. See, I'm consistent.
Emergency.
Do you like having a P.O. box but are tired of wasting time and money driving to the post office?
Savings.
Yeah.
You have no emergency savings?
I mean, look, no, not really. I don't need any.
I mean, at this point in your life, you don't need any. But I'm saying,
I know.
if you were an average person.
Because I am an average person.
No, you are not.
100%.
You are not the average American by any stretch of the imagination.
1,000%.
Yo,
I came from nothing, dude. Like everything I've done. I'm not a coder. I'm not a fucking podcaster, a famous podcaster that spends time with what's your guy's name that talked about you on Saturday Night Live?
Seinfeld.
Yeah, Seinfeld. Like, I don't have that kind of street cred, so I don't need emergency savings. This was another bank myth. You need 3 months of savings in case of the big emergency. Dude, if you have an emergency, you need to go to work. You need to go hustle. Is what you need to do.
In 2022,
savers stay broke, bro.
In 2022, the median.
So I think what he just said was an interesting thing. And I really want to point this out because, and then just kind of tell him about his body language, which is real funny, is because I think he's kind of getting to his wits end, kind of talking to Vlad about this. But what he just said was, you don't need to save, you need to work. He's also, and I really want to point this out, he's also in sales. One of the interesting things about people in sales is that their mindset is completely different from people who work a 9 to 5. Not saying it's wrong with people who work with 9 to 5, but the paradigm is different from people who work 9 to 5. When you work in sales, you don't equate your time to money. You equate number of sales to money. So him working in sales, he's looking at it from the paradigm of, all I gotta do is go out and make 3 sales. I don't need to have a savings. I can go out, spend money, and then I can go make some tomorrow. And obviously some days are harder than others when it comes to sales. But nonetheless, to a large extent, you can control your income when you're in sales. And I think that's a big part of what he's saying, is he's a salesman. He's in sales. He works in a field where he can control his pay. So him thinking, okay, I'm gonna just have savings, is not really logical for him, because in his occupation, once again, and I said this in my last videos, I'll say this in all my other videos, sales is the occupation of the wealthy, delegation is the pursuit of the rich. He has a completely different paradigm. He thinks like the 1%. Sales, people who are in sales think completely different, because they don't have to rely on a paycheck weekly or paycheck whatever it is. I work in sales. When I work in sales, if I want to go, if the weather permits it, because for my sales, sometimes the weather doesn't permit it, but for the most part, I can go outside, and just knowing off the law of averages, if I knock on 100, I can get at least 4 sales. Knocking on 100 doors, I can get at least 4 sales. Just the law of averages. Not saying that my pitch is tight, not saying anything. So his paradigm is different. I don't know what I don't know where Vlad come from, or his background, or his work history, but to me he sounds like somebody who used to work a 9 to 5. Which is, I'm not trying to downplay anybody who works a 9 to 5. I'm just saying from this perspective, is Grant Cardone is somebody who worked in sales. And I'm pretty sure if I'm not mistaken, he had a 9 to 5 as well, and then he transitioned to sales. But yeah, the paradigm, the way to think is completely different. This is why strippers don't think this way. Barbers don't think this way. Like it's interesting how certain professions, they think different from people who work a 9 to 5. So it's real. I think it's a very interesting topic on the dissonance between somebody who works a 9 to 5 and somebody who's primarily in sales. So, and don't add, and oh man, you also add on top of that, he's a business owner. So now on top of he's in sales and he's a business owner, he also, not only can he control his income, but he can control it even more by not even paying taxes, or paying a lower percentage of taxes than somebody who works in a 9 to 5, which is, come on, you can't beat that. If you want to boil down business to its basic first principle, is literally to try to keep your expenses as low as possible and your income as high as possible. To be in business, more likely, first principle is to have your income exceed your expenses. That's all that means. Business is that. If you don't have that, you're not in business. That's it. So
in net worth, of the average American is $193,000.
Yeah. How much of that is equity in their home? Counted as equity in their home?
Not sure. Well, probably a good, nice chunk.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be. Equity in a home should never be considered as a net worth number.
But you could take a second mortgage on it.
It shouldn't be considered. It doesn't matter. You need a place to live.
But you could take a second mortgage and still live in the same place.
What's the point? It's a place you live. It'd be like me
Maybe
counting.
I would never do that.
It'd
But
be like me
I don't
counting
mind
my
owning cash.
refrigerator on my net worth statement.
Your net worth, if you own your house outright, then that's part of your net worth.
No. I need a place to live.
Right.
It should not be considered with an accounting degree in my background, in my pedigree. Okay? The value of your home should not be considered as a net worth item because one, it doesn't produce income. Two, it's a liability because you're paying property taxes. You probably have debt on it. Okay?
1% property tax, yeah.
No,
usually
2% in Florida. Okay?
1 to 2%.
It's enormous, but you're going to pay it for
1% out here.
Vlad, you're going to pay 30 years. That's 30%. It's not 1%, it's 30%. And it goes up every year.
Well, 30% of the total price of the house over 30 years. I mean, that's a little different.
You don't pay it 1 year.
Well, you pay it every year. Property tax you get paid every year
what
based
is
on
it?
the price of the house.
If you keep the house 30 years, what was it?
30%.
Exactly. Okay. What was the maintenance? Another 1%. Average maintenance on a home today is 1% a year. That's another 30%.
Right.
Taxes when you bought it. Let's just do broker fees when you bought it.
6%.
Somebody took 6 on the front. Somebody took 6
No,
on the back.
3% on the front, 3% on the back.
No, it's 6, dude.
No.
It's 6, bro.
No.
What the fuck are you talking about? You paid 6 points on your. It's 6.
The buying agent gets 3 and the selling agent gets 3. You're saying it's 6%. 6 total. You said 6 and 6.
No, I
which
said
is 12.
6 total. 6
total,
6
right.
on the front.
Oh,
when
you
buy
sell it. Yeah, right.
6
Yeah.
on the back when you sell it. Now,
Got it.
Now,
Yeah.
So if it's $100,000, you paid $6,000 in fees. That is not any value to the user of the home.
Right.
And 6% when you go to sell. So now you're at 6. You're at 1 plus 1 your property taxes. That's 8 times 30.
And what he's and this is the cost analysis of what he's saying, because in a couple episodes back we went over front end and back end expenses. What he's pointing out is on the front end you're going to be paying this. I'm going to be paying whatever the down payment is, whatever it is for the agent, and whatever the expenses. Look, and once again, this is not like financial advice. I've never bought a home, probably won't in the near future or the next decade. Don't see myself. So please take that with a grain of salt, because I'm not a real estate or tax advisor. Please don't. I'm not sitting here. I'm just a guy who is questioning things and seeing things as objective. That's it. But what he's saying is there's a front end and there's a back end of this. So there's a front end cost of saying, oh, it's a house, it's worth $300,000, put down 3% of, let's say 300,000, 10% of, 3%, 3.5% of that is what, 9? So about $9,000, $10,000. You put down $10,000, you pay the brokers, the agents, the brokers, whatever fees incurred. That's the front end. This is all the front end. The back end cost of what he's also saying is you have to pay property taxes. If you live in a certain type of neighborhood, you got to pay HOA fees, the maintenance on the house. Lord forbids if you need a roof, hot water heater, all this. Since you are a house, is essentially saying that you are a responsible individual. You take responsibility for the house, which means you take responsibility for all things that go wrong with the house, included with the payment that comes with it. That is quite crazy when you think about that, because not only it's going to be hard, depending on where you are, it's going to be hard to sell it. It's not going to really increase in value too often. Unless you get a pretty decent price on it, and most people don't know to negotiate on the house itself, which you can do, but you don't get a decent offer on the house. You probably You probably will have to pay some type of maintenance, especially if you have kids. I mean, come on now. Like, I was a kid and we tore up the apartment that we lived at, or the townhouse that we lived at in Chicago. So just all of this back end, the back end cost of it, the cost benefit analysis on the back end overshadows makes the whole thing not an investment. That's what he's saying. He's saying this whole thing isn't an investment just based off everything that's going to be incurred into it. Now, I'm also not saying that you can't pull equity out. You can't pull. It's not what I'm saying. The biggest part is that you paid the equity down already to take more equity out. So you still having to pay. Like it doesn't. What he's saying mathematically, it doesn't make sense to add this to your net worth because it's not producing income. It's an expense for the most part until that 30 years is pretty much over and you can leverage it to get something else. That's pretty much what he's saying. Once again, I am not a tax advisor. I am not a financial benefits advisor. I'm just logically seeing what he's saying and objectively questioning what he's saying, and then using that through the auspice of pure logic and numbers. That's it. I'm not trying to sit here and tell you what to do. I can give a fuck less what you do. Do whatever you want to do. I'm just listening to a guy who is a billionaire now, and he's a billionaire in real estate. So
it's 240%. You have to make 240% if I did the math right. No, yeah, that's right. 240% if you kept the house 30 years to break even, and you haven't paid interest on a loan yet, which today would be 7.5%. For another 30 years, which is 230%. So you have to make 400% on a house for 30 years to ever break even.
Yeah, no, listen, I've never thought a house was a good investment.
Yeah,
we talked about this early on.
So if it's not a good investment,
it's just a place to live.
It's not liquid.
Yes.
Does it belong on your personal net worth?
I see what you're saying.
I didn't know this was going to be argumentative. I thought this was going to be a friendly. Goddamn, with 5 of these we've done, dude. Like,
do you own your?
Okay. I mean, I like that episode. I think that was a pretty good episode on what he was talking about. I like Grant Cardone. Pretty much everything he was saying seems pretty solid. Seems like it has some merit to it. I think once you break down and crunch the numbers and kind of see exactly what he's saying, I think it pretty much makes a lot of sense. I don't think what he's saying doesn't make any sense. But I think one of the biggest parts of this is knowing, hold on, you know what I'm saying? Let me look y'all in the eyes when I talk to y'all now. You know what I'm saying? I'm on my sugar daddy. I'm just playing. But I got my cane going and everything. Oh man. But the biggest thing to take away from this video is the paradigm of somebody who, one, is in sales, and two, somebody who owns a business. Or can't do this. That's not really, your thumb isn't a finger. Well, one, somebody who owns a business, and two, somebody's in sales. These two coupled together, you are already in a very minority of the society, because most people are terrified. Most people are extremely terrified to be in sales, not only because most people are probably terrified to talk to people, but even more so, they're terrified that their income is tied to the work that they put in. That is a scary thing for a lot of people. When I was young, my father was like, "Look, man, get you somewhere your income is steady." Now, once again, and I'm not sitting here downing anybody with a 9-to-5 job or a steady income or anything like that. Would never do that. What I am saying is that knowing the difference on these two, because both of them have plus and minuses. I mean, you can't refute that. Both of them have plus and minuses, but for the most part, understanding that the more you can separate your income from your time, and the more money you can keep from not paying taxes, because taxes is the biggest expense we all face. You pay taxes from work. When you go to the store, you pay taxes. What other taxes do you? That's just tax on tax. When you go to the grocery store, you gotta pay tax. Well, technically, you paying the store's tax. You're not even paying your tax. You're paying the store's tax, which is another video in and of itself. But yeah, I personally don't see a real reason to have a 401k, especially if you're young. Especially when these people start talking about, and once again, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not a tax consultant, I'm none of these things. I am a guy who thinks objectively, that's it. I just don't see the point in saving money or starting a 401k account, especially in your 20s. Most of your 20s should be invested into you gaining skills and knowledge. I think if you refute that, I think you just are an idiot. I don't think you have that's quite common sense. I don't see what other reason you would be saving money for. Spend all the money on yourself to get better, to be able to generate money. I don't really see the whole, but I think I touched on pretty much everything. So, man, I had a good one. I had a good episode. I like this one. I like Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone, he seems pretty genuine. He seems pretty, look, man, I like Grant Cardone for the simplicity. His message is clear. What he preaches is clear. He's done what he's preaching. So it's kind of hard to kind of go against somebody who has all this credibility stacked up against him. And so, hey, look, man, I look at facts. I look at all these different type of things. I don't look at how I feel when people talk. So I don't really care. You can be somebody I completely, utterly hate, and I still will give you an ear. So, yeah, man. Catch me on the next episode. Follow me as I follow money. Let's dive deeper and get rich. Catch y'all next time. Peace.